So guys, we will also be doing a watch party sponsored by Wendy's right here on YouTube and theorlandomagic.com. So make sure you tune in and join into that. And as we get ready to hear Jeff Weltman talk, that draft show will be at 9:15 p.m. and it'll be myself and Dante Marcatelli who will be joining me. And you never know who else will join us. And so it'll be a really good time as we get ready for this upcoming draft. I'm super excited. The offseason has just been so sad that we haven't seen the Magic. So I am so ready for us to get ready for this upcoming season. um, and we are just counting down the days for this draft. And I'm looking forward to hopefully we'll hear some people come in and we'll get some people to chat with us, see who you guys are excited to see and who you guys are excited to hopefully see welcome as we welcome in to the Magic. Um, so yeah, we are getting ready again. I'm Kendra Douglas with the Magic. We are getting ready for a press conference soon with President of Basketball Operations Jeff Weltman. It should be happening soon as he gets us ready for this upcoming draft. We had an amazing season last year, and it's so exciting to see what this team is going to be doing in the upcoming year. So hopefully we can get ready for that. I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing about some of the newcomers that they're looking into, and then also hearing how the Magic is continuing to prepare for this upcoming draft, which again will be this Wednesday at 8 p.m. and you can check it out on ESPN. But we want you guys to also chime in and tune in to our watch party, which is sponsored by Wendy's, and you can see it right here on YouTube or the OrlandoMagic.com website. We'll be getting on, I kind of mentioned earlier, we'll be getting on at 9:15. Me, Dante Marcatelli, whole gang, we're here, we're coming back, we're excited, and we're looking forward to this upcoming draft. So yeah, we're gonna get ready for this, and it'll be so exciting. Also on Friday, we'll be introducing hopefully who the Magic can pick. So get ready and look out for that. So we'll just hang out here. Hopefully some people will come in, chime in, and chat with us as we get ready to hear Jeff Weltman to talk about the pre-draft press conference. And yeah, so hopefully we'll hear that soon. Magic fans looking and tuning in. Miss you guys. Can't wait to see you guys in this upcoming season. Can't wait to see what the schedule is going to look like. Can't wait for all of it. Looking forward to everything that's going to be happening this season. And it should be a good year. We finished strong, finished on a high note, finished on a good note. So we finished strong. Are we having Dan Savage come and join us? Please come join us.
I'm here.
Please come join us.
Oh,
So Dan, I don't know if you can, how you can get in here.
I could turn this a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. Dan, I'm so happy you did join us. Tell me, what are you looking forward to the most about this upcoming draft class? You kind of wrote about it a little bit, but who are some of the picks that are on the hunt that we should be looking out for?
Well, to me, it really comes down to, do the Magic go best player available? Do they go in the direction of continuing to add defense? Or do they, go for playmaking and shooting? So this draft is weird in the sense that when you talk to scouts, there are a lot of players that could go from pick 6 overall to pick 25 overall, and there's a wide bucket. So I think more so than any draft in recent memory, it's really hard to nail down who the Magic might pick because there's just a plethora of players. I think when I did the most recent collection of media mock drafts, the player whose name came up the most was Jared McCain out of Duke, who's a fine shooter. But it'll be interesting to see if the Magic overlook the defensive limitations of certain guys and opt to go in that direction, because that's something that has been a steadfast thing in the past, is they've really emphasized defense and then scoring, playmaking, secondary with some of those picks. So it'll be interesting to see how the team falls when looking in that regard.
It's interesting, another Duke guy in the mix, and we've done well with the Duke.
Hasn't gone bad.
Hasn't gone bad, so that is a positive. But when I was reading your article, you kind of mentioned how everyone will come out with who they think the Magic will pick, but it's always a very slim selection of who's actually right. What do you think it is about just the way that the Magic operate that, they're able to kind of keep people on their toes when it's like when it comes down to the picks?
Look, with some teams, there's a lot of information coming out, whether it be, from assistant GMs who are trying to climb up their way to GM, et cetera. But for the Magic, they keep things close to the vest. And uh, none, none is more evident than when the team had the number one overall selection. And when I went and looked back in 2022, when the team obviously selected Paolo, only 2 of the 14 mock drafts had the team correctly picking Paolo. And when you look at number one picks throughout history, usually
They're accurate, like they're on
usually
it.
by a week
Yeah.
before the draft, everybody knows who's going number one, and only 2 had it. And to be completely clear about that one, I had a feeling that the team might go Paolo, so I was really searching for
Yeah.
Paolo mock drafts, and so I was like trying to pull, and I think even one of those was a prior mock draft that I went not with the latest edition, but with an earlier one, just to have some Paolo in there. So it just shows how secretive the Magic can be, and how close to the vest they can be. That even when they had the number one overall pick in 2022, only 2 of the 14 had it correctly pegged.
That's so funny that, this organization can keep that so close. And I remember being there on draft night too. And when they picked Paolo, people were kind of like, what? Like, who is this kid? But you see, obviously, how well they've done with Paolo and how well they're able to just help him grow into what he has become today. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming season for him. When you look at how well we did this season, what are the needs for the Magic going into this upcoming season?
Well, look, it's no secret. If the playoff series against the Cavaliers taught us anything, it's that shooting is important. Now, where that shooting comes from can be debated. We saw players on the Magic's roster, Jalen Suggs, heavily evident of it, developed shooting through internal growth. I expect Franz Wagner to have a much better shooting season this upcoming year than he did this prior one. Paolo will continue to grow as a shooter. Jalen can continue to make strides. I think Anthony Black, with the work he's put in this offseason. And then look, Jet Howard, who the team drafted last year with a lottery pick, spent most of his time in the G League with the Osceola Magic. He'll be expected to make contributions. But I'm gonna have to run
You
because
are.
Jeff's coming.
Yes,
And
Jeff's
then maybe I'll
coming.
join you later.
Well, all right. Well, thank you. And we will get ready to see President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman, speak about the pre draft class. And we are looking forward to what he has to say. So, you guys tune in to that.
find out in about 5 seconds.
What's up, guys?
Jeff, how are ya?
Here we go. You guys been good?
Good there, guys?
Pretty good.
Jeff, can you come up to that?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jeff, obviously you can't talk about free agency until later this month, but for the Orlando Magic's name to be popping up so much in rumors, some with high-profile names, just what does it say about the growth that this team's made to be in that type of place?
Well, look, the first thing is a lot of that is speculative at this point. Obviously, I won't discuss what we're planning, but the media at this time of year is going to go in 1,000 different directions, so we don't really allow ourselves to get drawn into the kind of narrative. We do what we have to do. I'll say this: it's not for us to say the job that we're doing. We know what we're doing internally, and we hope that the rest of the league picks up on that. I've told you guys that I believe in going around the league and hearing the various constituents around the league, like what they're saying about us. It makes me feel good about what we're doing. But that said, look, we just do our work, and we hope that good things follow.
We know that this is a busy offseason. How does the draft, being in a different position, drafting 18th rather than up near the top, but how does the draft play into some of the decisions that you'll be making over the next couple of weeks?
Well, obviously, the most important thing is the draft comes first, so it'll be informative in that respect, if nothing else. Obviously, you're right, Philip. 18 is different than where we've been picking more recently, and so you have to kind of recalibrate your expectations to that. But I think we're looking at some good players at 18, and our guys have been working really hard on the draft. And it started about this time last year, and this is the culmination of all their efforts. They do great jobs. We do a lot of background work. That the person is as important to us as the player. And so we're excited about the draft. But yeah, picking 18 is different, than picking in the lottery.
Jeff, how do you evaluate the overall talent level in this draft?
It's such an interesting question. I think that drafts get regarded by their upside. So are the top 3 guys superstar potential players and, that sort of stuff. So this draft's been batted around a little bit, I think, for that, I think most drafts are pretty similar. If you kind of step back and say how many rotation players did it yield, how many starters did it yield, most drafts are pretty similar. You're going to have your outliers, once in a while. But I think this draft is a kind of like more typical draft. I think there are players in here. We just got to find them. That's our job.
Jeff, what's the need for this draft pick? This would be a young player. Where does another young player fit on this draft?
I mean, it's a great question. We pride ourselves on the development of young players. I think we do that well. It's something that we spend a lot of time on planning and orchestrating and mapping out a design for each guy here. And, we've got a lot of guys whose careers we have to navigate. And so adding another one is something that we've discussed. How does that work? The better your team is, and hopefully we can maintain the level that we got to last year, you start to recalibrate what that looks like, when you're not drafting in the lottery, and how you develop players may be looked at a little differently. When I was in Toronto, we had a perennial playoff team, and we had a lot of really good young players on the bench, who were learning how to win. So it's a different mindset of bringing in a player to a winning team, as compared to what we've been through the rebuild. And I just hope that we can maintain that level, because we're trying to do both. I think it's a really important question, and we're trying to do both. We're trying to win and develop young players. It's something that we spend a lot of time on.
So with that being said, I'm Caroline from Fox 35.
Hey, Caroline.
Hello. Do you all draft the best available player, or do you draft based off of positional needs?
You'd love to have the luxury to draft off needs. I think the further down in the draft, the more, the slimmer the odds are of finding players who you believe will have meaningful NBA careers. So, you're always dealing with those kind of like levers, and you know, if it lines up that the player that addresses your needs is also the player that you think will have a meaningful career, then that's pretty good work, you know, where we're picking this year. But I think by and large you have to lean towards the player that you think you know, will be able to, you know, sustain a good NBA career.
We've seen the league become like much more skill based. I know that's something that this team has kind of emphasized. With this draft, do you see a lot more of those kind of players who are, you know, maybe more advanced in their skill work than they might be for a player of their position? You know, are you seeing more kind of international influence in the game at all?
You know, that's a great question, and that really kind of digs more into, you know, youth basketball in the United States these days, and the way that guys are coming up. I do think we're seeing the guys today are way more skilled than they were 10 years ago. The game is morphed, you know, in a lot of ways, and I think it's really interesting to follow NBA trends about, you know, physicality and everything else. And obviously, it started with you know, the popularization of the three and analytics kind of generating, you know, what's an important shot. And we're at a place now where, you know, the league is more skill based. It is more, you know, skill centric. So as a result, players get trained from an early age to grow into that. So yeah, I do think these drafts these days are more. We're looking at more skilled players than we were a while ago. I wouldn't say like this year more than last year, but as a trend for sure.
Is that an area that, you know, I know maybe the reputation is that European players come in more skilled and kind of trained to play all five positions, whereas American players are kind of catching up. Do you see American players maybe catching up on them? I know it's another draft where, you know, the top picks are expected to be international prospects again.
Yeah, you're kind of like scratching at something that's actually like a conversation that a lot of NBA people are having right now, which is, you know, I think everybody's looking at youth basketball right now, you know, and there are very different models, you know, that you can pursue. And, you know, in the United States, you know, through the advent of AAU and everything, you know, our guys just play a ton of basketball from an early age. So some of that is really good, and they get a lot of reps and they get to work on their games. And some of it is, you know, are they training skills over just kind of like playing more? So that's something that I think, you know, regardless of how we look at this draft, is kind of like a separate conversation that is generating a lot of, you know, interest right now, kind of at our levels. So I mean, it's a good question. I think it's something that we need to continue to analyze and you know, measure as we go forward, because the league is changing, and how do we recalibrate that towards the youth programs?
Yeah, this team was obviously built through the draft. Has it reached a point though where free agency is as important, if not more important, to take the next step?
I mean, wow, I don't know how to answer that. It's a great question. I don't know what's more important. I think it's always important to get your draft picks right if you can. And it's a chance to add a good young player who will continue on the legacy of what you're trying to build, you know, on the court, off the court, in the locker room. And the beauty of the draft is you get to bring somebody in who becomes what the Orlando Magic are about from day one. And so hopefully if that person and player can grow into that and become a meaningful player for your team, it's worth its weight in gold, you know. But obviously the free agent market is a completely different animal. And I can tell you that, like, we're spending a lot of time now preparing on these parallel paths for the draft on Wednesday, free agency on July 1st. And so, you know, we'll have to see where that takes us. You know, strategies are one thing, and then executing them, you know, is a completely different thing. But I think they're both really important. But to the point of your question, I think, have we kind of turned the corner? Like, are we ready to add veteran guys? Is that kind of like what you're, yeah. So I would say this, you know, I told you guys before, like, we're not going to lose the North Star of our team, you know. That said, I want to like really emphasize this. There's no one in this building, no one, players, coaches, staff, that's patting themselves on the back right now. We haven't done anything yet. We've got to work to get back to where we were last year, and it's going to be hard to do that. And so our guys are putting in a lot of good quality work already, and We do, if we have an opportunity to add veteran players who are like-minded to what we're trying to do, who understand the overall scheme of where we're trying to take the team and add to our talent base, add to our experience level, but can blend in, then yeah, we'll pursue that.
How do you, Jeff, you said in your first remark, we have a plan, and then you just said parallel paths. Without giving any details, I mean, you guys are prepared to go in any direction over the next 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I say parallel paths, I mean that we're preparing for the draft, which is Wednesday, and, simultaneously we're having discussions on, what free agency could look like July 1. And so, obviously they're both wildly unpredictable, and you have to kind of prioritize what your hopes would be, and you have to be ready to quickly pivot, because they both happen like that. And so, a lot of that is just in the preparation of it. So we're being very deliberate. We're spending a lot of time on those things, and hopefully they stand us in good stead when the time hits. But you just never know how those things are going to unfold on the day of.
Jeff, the day after the NBA Finals, your teams around the league were able to start negotiating and talking with their own free agents. Obviously, you can't share things publicly, but how have those negotiations gone?
Well, I won't characterize any of our negotiations as always. I would never do that. I can just tell you that we have great relationships with the agents of the players you're referring to, and we're in constant communication, not just after the season. We talk all the time. It's really important to keep those relationships alive and healthy, and we always try to do that. Obviously, it's very important for us to have those conversations, and those are very important players for our team. But I wouldn't characterize anything beyond that.
How does Jets' rookie year, spending so much of it in the G League with Dylan Murphy and whatnot, and that being viewed as somewhat successful, how does that impact this draft, if at all?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think we think Jet could be a very important part of our team. He's put in great work this summer. He looks terrific. Like I said to you guys last time, I know he's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but we look at his rookie year as having been wildly successful. The guy accomplished all of the goals that we set out for him. It just happened to be in Osceola, not Orlando. But he comes back in, a different kid, a different player, a different prospect. And obviously, we're hopeful that he becomes, someone that integrates into our team, successfully. I would never project timelines on that, but we all, try to clear a path for guys when we can. And so, yeah, that's part of the draft discussion. But again, at 18, and with the team that made the playoffs, I think we have to kind of recalibrate the way we think about the draft a little bit. It's not quite the same as it's been in years past.
How does the strategy or approach change knowing that you have Wednesday round 1, Thursday round 2 instead of back-to-back?
Yeah. Ask me on Thursday night. I have no idea. I mean, it's actually kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't think that, we blow through the draft, and there is a little bit of an exhale after the first round, but then the second round comes in such rapid fire that, some teams that haven't prepared for it maybe can kind of, maybe take their eye off the ball a little bit. I don't really think that happens a whole lot, and I'm curious to see if having a day to pause and catch your breath and circle back to agents, because a lot of this is what are agents willing to do with their players in the second round? And we don't always get to have those conversations as the picks are going every other minute, and teams are calling you and trying to jockey you around. This is going to allow us to kind of hit the pause button, catch our breath, have a lot of conversations, and kind of go into day 2 probably a little more, prepared. But I really don't know what the impact is going to have. And it's the second round. It's not. I don't think it's going to be treated with the same weight as the first round, and especially we're at 47 this year, so it's not like where we've been drafting in years past. But it'll be interesting to find out. We're kind of all looking forward to it.
Jeff, when you look at how championship teams are built, I'm sure you compare yourself to other teams in the league. The Celtics, of course, just won the championship. They drafted their star players and then added pieces. Do you look at teams like that and say, hey, this is how they were built, maybe we could emulate them? Or
Yeah, we study that stuff all the time. There are so many different ways to, kind of get the job done, and so much of it is dependent upon, your top guys, and then the other layers kind of factor in. One of them being, the new CBA is going to change the world a little bit, So, Yeah, we pay a lot of attention to that stuff, and there are kind of, maybe some commonalities, but I also think that we have to be understanding how the world is like shifting, in player acquisition, in the new CBA, in the maybe the length of contracts, and even we've seen such a dramatic shift in the last few years between free agency and the kind of trade market and that hybrid market that we've talked about before, So yeah, like we do study that a lot, Mike, but obviously the other part of it is we're on our own path and we don't listen to the outside noise here, and we're trying to, our goal is to win a championship. And with that, we have to approach that on an opportunity by opportunity basis and feed that into the context of our team. So we do pay attention to that. We talk about that, but ultimately we have to kind of follow our own roadmap.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Good stuff, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, how are you? In a couple days. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
See you guys on Wednesday. Thank you.
Get some sleep.
Secrets for August.